Hey there, y'all. I'm Juliette Miranda of the Unwritable Rant podcast, and today I want to share with y'all my top 5 favorite bourbons and whiskeys of 2017. So on the Unwritable Rant podcast, I tell bourbon-soaked stories, but today we are focusing all on the bourbon. I picked out my 5 favorite bourbons of this past year. Now I had some very specific criteria for the bourbons that I want to share with you. For starters, I wanted to make sure that the majority of these were affordable. Now I do have one splurge bourbon because we all need to treat ourselves just a little bit, but for the most part, all of these bourbons are within the $30 to $50 range. Now I do want to point out that not all of these are entirely conventional. We have a couple of bourbons on here that are sourced, which I know some of y'all bourbon purists out there may turn up your nose a little bit at, but for me, this list is all about the flavor. Because seriously, isn't that the real joy in drinking bourbon and whiskey? It's just tasting it and having fun with it. So that is the number one thing I want you to take away from this list. Just have fun. Now my first bourbon on the list is Russell's Reserve 10-year. It's from the Wild Turkey family, and at $35 a bottle, it's going to be your best value on this list. And it's got a great flavor. Now here's what I love about this bourbon. It is a perfect level up bourbon. If you're done with the Jim Beams and the Maker's Marks, then go with Russell's. Here's the mash bill. It's 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% malted barley. It's a great flavor. It is everything that a bourbon should be. It's got a little bit of vanilla, it's got a little nut, a little oak, and that's from the 10 years of aging. It's a great flavor and it is really, really fun to drink. Perfect to bring to any holiday party. Next on my list is Michter's Single Barrel Rye Whiskey. Oh, y'all, I had to include a rye because this winter I like something a little bit more spicy. I like a little bit more of a robust flavor. And at $40 a bottle, this Michter's Rye is exactly what y'all need. At 84 proof, incredibly easy to drink. And it's a little bit different. Now it's got that big, bold cinnamon flavor up front, but then it rounds out, and it almost reminds me of vanilla Coke a little bit. Definitely give this one a shot. Great straight and great mixed. Next on the list, Redemption Wheated Bourbon. Now if you listen to my podcast, you know I have an indecent love of wheated bourbons, and this one is so good, y'all, so good. It's about $45 a bottle, but I will admit it could be a little hard to find because it was a limited release, but I had to talk about it. Here's the thing about Redemption. They're known for their rye, and they have a really nice high rye bourbon as well. But this wheated whiskey, oh y'all, I'm getting all giggly just thinking about it. Here's the thing with wheated whiskeys like Maker's Mark and Larceny. The wheat is about 20% of the mash bill, maybe a little bit higher. Here's what Redemption does differently. So the mash bill, 51% corn, 45% winter wheat, and 4% malted barley. That high wheat just really gives it this incredible, juicy, wonderful, spicy flavor. It's sweet like honey, and then it just rounds out with this wonderful bourbon, oaky sort of flavor. Just drink it. If you find it, drink it. You'll love it. Blade & Bow Straight Bourbon Whiskey is next on the list. Now this doesn't have an age statement and there's no mash bill. Let's just get beyond that and talk about the flavor. This is a 4-grain blend, corn, rye, malted barley, and wheat. It is so tasty. This has a really nice, light, summery sort of flavor, very juicy, and when you drink this, just drink it straight. This is a perfect sipping whiskey because it's just gonna smooth you out. You're gonna roll around like a summer day, a little bit of pepper on the end. Overall, so good. Oh yeah, I said roll around with your whiskey, and I meant it. Because when you're drinking this stuff, you want to enjoy it. Let it roll around in your mouth a little bit. Taste everything that you can, because this stuff is delicious. And that brings me to my splurge bourbon. I thought long and hard about what bourbon to include here. I thought maybe I might include something from the Orphan Barrel line, maybe Barterhouse or Rhetoric. But you know, I wanted to do something a little different. Those are delicious, don't get me wrong, but this one's amazing. I've got Joseph Magnus bourbon here. It does clock in at about $100 a bottle, but y'all, it is so worth it. All right, y'all. I happen to have a glass now of the amazing Joseph Magnus bourbon. Let me tell you what they do that I really love. They're capitalizing on a trend of a sort of fancy aging process. Their bourbon is sourced, but they age it themselves using a triple cask process of sherry and cognac casks. Now, this is a little bit of a risk. The problem with doing this, if you don't do it well, is that you're going to take a mediocre bourbon, throw it in a sherry cask, and then you're going to get kind of a weird, sweet sort of bourbon that doesn't taste like bourbon. This does it right. Let's have a taste. Oh, y'all, so smooth. Now, it does have a little bit of a wine thing going on, but don't worry, you can totally taste the bourbon. What I love is that you get that wine, but then it mellows out into sort of a dried fruit flavor with chocolate and a little bit of leather and a little bit of spice at the end. It's amazing. I love this stuff. Absolutely worth the splurge. Now, before I let y'all go, I do want to throw out an honorary mention of sorts to Barrel Bourbon. Barrel didn't actually make it onto the list for a couple of reasons. One, they have like a million different releases that are all amazing in their own right. Two, a little pricey, and three, a little hard to find. But when you do, let me just tell you, I've tried 3 of their releases, batch 1, batch 5, and batch 11. Oh, batch 11, I was undone. It tastes like a carnival, full of pecans and popcorn and just a wonderful, easy to drink summer bourbon. I've got a little bit left in my bar, like maybe that much. I am hoarding it until the very end, or until I find another bottle. Anyway, y'all, I hope you enjoyed this top 5 list of bourbon and whiskey. Don't forget to check out the Unwritable Rant podcast. Just go to theunwritablерant.com for bourbon-soaked storytelling, and of course, bourbon. Cheers, y'all.